All right, thank you guys. Welcome to our Major League Baseball video here today for Tuesday, May 4th. Apparently it's Star Wars Day. May the 4th be with you. I don't know what that means, but anyway, my name is Brock Page and I do sports picks for free right here on YouTube. Now we're 3-1 in our last 4 NBA tier package picks on my Patreon website. We're also hitting at 63% in our last 16 NBA tier package picks in that very same category. We currently have over 1,105 members who are signed up and active on that site. And if you want to see which one of these YouTube picks I'm actually betting on personally, link for that page is in the description section below. Once again, that's patreon.com/BrockPage. With that, guys, we're going to start off with the Diamondbacks versus the Marlins, 6:40 p.m. Eastern start time. Miami's minus 145, total 7.5. Sandy Alcantara, the expected starting pitcher for the Marlins. Riley Smith for Arizona. Now, the D-backs have won 3 out of their last 4 ball games, 7-3 straight up in their last 10. Arizona cashed in on the run line in 71% of their road games. And they're currently in the top 3 in the league in scoring on average per contest. David Peralta is batting .300, and he's tied for 5th in the majors in RBI with 22 of them. Eduardo Escobar, he's also crushed 7 homers and knocked in 17 for the D-backs as well. This Arizona lineup is in the top 10 in the majors in hits, top 5 in offensive walks on the road. Now they're taking on a Marlins club who's won just 4 of 11 home games this year. And they cashed in on the run line in only 36% of those home contests. The Marlins are currently 5 games below .500, and they also find themselves in last place in the lackluster NL East. Their biggest problem thus far is their hitting. They're in the bottom 10 in hits, bottom 10 in scoring. The Marlins also strike out over 9.7 times a game at the plate. Now, total-wise, 4 out of Miami's last 6 ball games got over the total of 7.5 runs. They've also gone 6-4 to the over in their last 10 meetings with Arizona. Meanwhile, the D-backs are 57% to the over for the entire season this year themselves. I'm going to lean toward the underdog Arizona Diamondbacks plus 1.5 and the over 7.5 runs. Next matchup, White Sox versus the Reds, 6:40 Eastern Standard Time. Cincinnati's minus 110, totals 9. Jeff Hoffman for the Reds, Dylan Cease for Chicago. Now, Cease is 1-0 on the year with a .296 ERA and 29 strikeouts. The White Sox have won 7 out of their last 10 ball games, and they rank in the top 3 in the majors in road scoring. Yerman Mercedes, he's batting .395 with 5 homers and 16 RBI. The catcher also has an OPS of 1.063. Meanwhile, Luis Robert, he's batting .316 with 44 total bases. Chicago's in the top 5 in the majors in hits on average per contest. They're taking on a Cincy team who gives up a whole lot of runs at home. Their pitching staff's in the bottom 3 in runs given up at home, bottom 3 in walks allowed at home as well. Jeff Hoffman comes into today's contest with a .136 whip and a dozen walks in just over 24 innings of work. Now, total-wise, Cincy's 12-3 to the over as the home team, 74% to the over for the entire year. Meanwhile, Chicago saw 7 out of their last 12 road games get over the line themselves. I'm going to lean toward the Chicago White Sox minus 110 in the over 9 runs. Next ball game, Brewers, Phillies, 7:05 Eastern first pitch. Philadelphia's minus 150, total 7.5. Aaron Nola for the Titans, Eric Lauer for Milwaukee. Now, Lauer is yet to give up an earned run in 5 innings of work this year. He's officially 1-0 on the season. This Milwaukee pitching staff has been awful stingy on the road. They're in the top 3 in hits allowed per contest away from home, and they're allowing just 3.3 runs a game as the away team. Milwaukee's also gone 9-4 straight up in their 13 road contests. They're taking on a Phillies team who really doesn't like to hit the baseball. They're in the bottom 5 in the majors in scoring, and they're striking out over 9.9s a game at Citizens Bank Park. The Phils currently have a losing record on the year, and they failed to cash in on the run line in 9 out of 16 home games. Now, total-wise, 3 out of Philadelphia's last 5 outings stayed under the total of 7.5 runs. Meanwhile, Milwaukee's officially 10-3 to the under as the away team. I'm going to lean toward the Milwaukee Brewers plus 1.5 and the under 7.5 runs. Next contest, it is going to be Astros versus the Yankees, 7:05 Eastern start time. The New York Yankees are minus $1.25, numbers 8.5. Domingo Germán for the Yankees, Zach Greinke for Houston. Now, Greinke's 2-1 with a 3.44 ERA and 27 strikeouts. The Astros have won 7 out of their last 10 ball games, and they rank in the top 5 in scoring. Yuli Gurriel, he's hit 4 home runs along with 11 extra base hits and 51 total bases. Now, the first baseman has also been walked 16 times, and he has a batting average of .327. Meanwhile, Yordan Alvarez is batting .313 with 15 ribbies and 44 total bases. Now, this Houston lineup strikes out less than any other team in the majors. They're taking on a Yankees squad who's playing just .500 baseball on their home field. They rank in the bottom 10 in the league in home scoring. New York's also averaging less than 7.3 hits a game. When it comes to the number in this one, New York's 9-5 to the under at Yankee Stadium, 18-10 to the under for the entire season. Meanwhile, the Astros saw 5 out of their last 8 outings stay under the total of 8.5 themselves. I'm going to lean toward the underdog Houston Astros plus 1.5 and the under 8.5 runs. Next ball game, Braves Nationals, 7:05 Eastern first pitch. Atlanta's minus 135, totals 9. Huascar Ynoa for Atlanta, Joe Ross for Washington. Now, Ross is 2-1 with 18 strikeouts on the season. Washington is currently on a 4-game winning streak, and they also went 7-3 straight up in their last 10. The Nats have played their best baseball at home this year. They're 8-5 straight up at Nationals Park, and they rank in the top 10 in fewest runs allowed at home. They're taking on an Atlanta squad who unfortunately is on a 4-game losing streak, and they also really struggle away from their home field. The Braves have been victorious in only 5 of 14 road games. And despite some really good stuff from Huascar Ynoa in the early going here, the Braves pitching staff collectively hasn't been all that great. They're still in the bottom 10 in the league in road hits allowed. They're also averaging 4.3 walks a game when they travel, so it looks like some command problems here for this Braves rotation. Now, total-wise, the Braves are 8-6 to the under when they travel. Washington's seen 62% of their home games stay under the line. The Nats are also officially 14-10 to the under for the entire season. I'm going to lean toward the Washington Nationals plus $1.15 and the under 9 runs. Next contest, Tigers, Red Sox, 7:10 Eastern Standard Time. Boston's minus 185, totals 8.5 juice to the over. Nick Pivetta for the Bo Sox, Michael Fulmer for Detroit. Now, the Tigers have the worst record in baseball at 8-21. It already puts them 13 games below 500, and that's good for a win percentage of just .276. The Tigers have also lost 12 of 16 road games, and they're dead last in the league in scoring on average per contest. They're taking on a Boston team who's 5 games above 500 right now, and they're amongst the league leaders in hits on average per game. Now, of course, JD Martinez, he leads the league in homers with 9 of them. He's tied for first in the league with 9 home runs. He's also got 26 RBI along with an OPS of 1.144. Meanwhile, Xander Bogaerts is batting .349 with 15 extra base hits and 5 homers himself. Boston is in the top 10 in scoring. And Nick Pivetta, he comes into today's start with a perfect 3-0 record and a .281 ERA. Now, total-wise, 6 out of Boston's last 10 ball games against Detroit got over the total. They're also 9-7 to the over at Fenway Park this season. Meanwhile, the Tigers saw 3 out of their last 4 get over the total of 8.5 runs. I'm going to lean toward the Boston Red Sox minus 1.5 and the over 8.5 runs. Next matchup, it is going to be Rangers versus the Twins, 7:40 Eastern start time. Minnesota's minus 160, numbers 8.5. J Happ for Minnesota, Kyle Gibson for Texas. Now Gibson's been outstanding thus far in the season. 3-0 record with a 2.16 ERA and a 1.14 whip. Gibson's also struck out 27 batters in just over 33 innings of work. The Rangers have also successfully cashed in on the run line in over 64% of their road games. They're in the top 3 in the league in road hits. Nick Solak's hitting .288 with 7 homers and 56 total bases. Meanwhile, Nate Lowe's cranked 6 home runs and knocked in 24. Now, the Rangers are taking on a Minnesota club here who's currently 5 games below 500, and they have a losing record at home. This Minnesota pitching staff is in the bottom 10 in runs allowed. They're also in the bottom 10 in striking batters out. Now, total-wise, Minnesota's gone 17-10 to the over on the year. Texas is 10-4 to the over when they travel. I'm going to lean toward the Texas Rangers plus 1.5 and the over 8.5 runs. Next ball game, Mets Cardinals, 7:45 Eastern first pitch. New York's minus 210, total 6.5. Jake DeGrom for the Mets, Johan Oviedo for St. Louis. Now, Oviedo's got a .93 whip, and he struck out 11 batters in just over 9 innings pitched. The Cardinals are in the middle of a 5-game winning streak, and they also picked up the W in 9 out of their last 11. Now, this Cardinal lineup is in the top 10 in scoring on average per contest. Nolan Arenado, he's hit 5 home runs and batted in 21. Meanwhile, Dylan Carson has a dozen extra base hits, along with 47 total bases. Now, they're taking on a Mets team who lost 5 out of their last 8, and they play their worst baseball on the road. Now, in addition to being 1 game below 500 overall for the season, New York's been victorious in just 5 of 13 road games, and they successfully cashed in on the run line in just 30% of those contests. The Mets are also one of the worst teams in the league with regard to offensive production. This lineup is currently in the bottom 3 in scoring on average per contest, and they also find themselves averaging just 3.3 runs a game. And when it comes to the scoring in this one, oddly enough, New York's seen over 69% of their road games get over the posted total. Meanwhile, the Cardinals saw 9 out of their last 10 meetings with New York get over the line as well. I'm going to lean toward the St. Louis Cardinals plus 1.5 and the over 6.5 runs. Next ball game, Indians-Royals, 8:10 Eastern Standard Time. Kansas City's minus 135, totals 9. Mike Minor for Kansas City, Sam Heinke for Cleveland. Now, Heinke comes into today's start with a 4.76 ERA and a 1.41 whip. This is going to be the 24-year-old's first major league start after some relief duty to start the year. Now, Cleveland is playing just 500 baseball on the road, and they've really struggled to get guys on base. The Indians are currently in the bottom 3 in the league in hits on average per contest. They're also going to have to go up against Mike Minor, who struck out 27 batters and comes into today's start with a 2-1 record. Now, this Kansas City Royals lineup here is also in the top 10 in MLB in home scoring, and they also rank in the top 10 in home hits. Carlos Santana's 10th in the majors in RBI. He's knocked in 21 runners and has 6 home runs already. Santana's also been walked 18 times. Meanwhile, Salvi Perez, he's hit 6 home runs along with 13 extra base hits. When it comes to the scoring in this one, the Royals are 8-6 to the over at Kauffman Stadium. Their last 5 straight ball games all got over the total of 9 runs as well. Meanwhile, 5 out of Cleveland's last 8 contests got over the total of 9 runs themselves. I'm going to lean toward the Kansas City Royals minus 135 in the over 9 runs. Next ball game, Rays versus the Angels, 9:38 East. LA's minus $120, totals 8.5. Alex Cobb for the Angels, Shane McClanahan for Tampa Bay. Now, the Rays are currently on a 2-game winning streak, and they find themselves winning 62% of their road games. This Tampa Bay lineup is first in the majors in road scoring, top 10 in road hits. Joey Wendell's batting .289 with 11 extra base hits and 18 total runs scored. Meanwhile, Manny Margot's batting .276 with 16 ribbies. They're taking on an Angel club who lost their last 2 straight, and they also dropped 4 out of their last 6. They've also been getting lackluster performance out of Alex Cobb. The righty's got himself a 7.16 ERA already and a 1.78 whip. Now, this Angels pitching staff is actually dead last in the majors in runs allowed. When it comes to the total in this one, the Angels are 7-4 to the over as the home team, nearly 60% to the over for the entire season. Meanwhile, the Rays are officially 10-3 to the over when they bat first. I'm going to lean toward the Tampa Bay Rays plus 105 and the over 8.5. Next contest I have for you, it is going to be Blue Jays versus the Athletics, and that's going to be a 9:40 p.m. Eastern start time. Oakland's minus $1.20, numbers 8.5. Cole Irvin for the Athletics, Anthony Kay for Toronto. Now, the Blue Jays have a losing record on the road, and they've really struggled to score when they travel. They're currently in the bottom 10 in road hits, bottom 5 in road scoring. Toronto's averaging just 3.3 runs per contest when they bat first. They're also taking on an Oakland squad who's got Cole Irvin on the bump for him here today. 3.67 ERA and 25 strikeouts for the lefty. The A's are currently on a 2-game winning streak, and they have themselves a winning home record as well. Now, this Oakland pitching staff is also in the top 10 in fewest walks allowed per game. When it comes to the number in this one, 5 out of Oakland's last 8 stayed under the posted total. Not the posted total. 5 out of Oakland's last 8 stayed under the total of 8.5 runs. So not the posted total, but the literal total of 8.5 runs. Meanwhile, Toronto's officially 12-4 to the under as the away team. I'm going to lean toward the Oakland A's minus 120 and the under 8.5. Next ball game, Pirates versus the Padres, 10:10 Eastern first pitch. San Diego's minus 230, totals 8. Ryan Weathers for the Padres, Mitch Keller for Pittsburgh. Now, Keller's just 1-3 with an 8.20 ERA and a 1.98 whip. The righties also walked 13 batters in just over 18 innings pitched. The Pirates are on an ice-cold 5-game losing streak, and they dropped to 4 games below 500. The Pirates are in the bottom 3 in road hits, and they average just 3.1 runs a game when they travel. They're taking on a Padres team who won 4 out of their last 5 ball games, 7-3 straight up in their last 10. The San Diego pitching staff leads the majors in strikeouts. They're also in the top 3 in hits allowed. The Padres are striking out nearly a dozen batters a game. They give up just 3.4 runs per contest at Petco Park. Ryan Weathers comes into today's start with a .55 ERA and a .61 whip. Now, total-wise, San Diego saw 13 out of 17 home games stay under the line. Meanwhile, Pittsburgh's officially 11-5 to the under when they travel. I'm going to lean toward the San Diego San Diego Padres minus 1.5 and the under 8 runs in the tight window. And with that, we're going to dive into our next and final matchup, Orioles versus the Mariners. Now, that's going to be a 10:10 Eastern start. Seattle's minus $1.25, numbers 8.5. If you like the Orioles in an upset on the road here, they're plus 105 for some money line cash. Georgie Lopez for the O's, Justin Dunn for Seattle. Now, Dunn's had some serious command issues this year, 13 walks to just 16 strikeouts. The Mariners have also lost 6 out of their last 9 ball games, and they rank dead last in the majors in striking batters out. This Mariner pitching staff is averaging less than 7.4 punch-outs a game. They're also walking nearly 4 batters a game at T-Mobile Park. They're taking on a Baltimore team who has the most road wins in the majors. Baltimore's currently 10-5 straight up when they travel. That's good for a win percentage of .667 in those contests. The Orioles are also in the top 3 in runs allowed on the road, as they're giving up just 3.3 runs per contest in that category. Despite a few rocky starts here for Georgie Lopez, he still struck out 21 batters in just over 21 innings of work. And when it comes to the total in this one, nearly 70% of Baltimore's road games stayed under the line, 18 and 11 of the under overall for this season. I'm going to lean toward the the Baltimore Orioles plus 105, and the under 8.5. With that, guys, now it's time for our quick pick recap, powered to you by my Patreon website. I like Arizona plus 1.5 over 7.5. Chicago White Sox minus 110 over 9 runs. Milwaukee plus 1.5 under 7.5. Houston plus 105 under 8.5. Washington plus $1.15 under 9 runs. Boston minus 1.5 over 8.5 runs. Texas plus 1.5 over 8.5. St. Louis plus 1.5 over 6.5 runs. Kansas City minus $1.35 over 9. Tampa Bay plus 105 over 8.5. Oakland minus 120 under 8.5. San Diego Padres minus 1.5 under 8 runs. Before I give you my next and final free pick for the video, one final reminder that we are 3-1 in our last 4 NBA tier package picks on my Patreon website. We're also hitting at 63% in our last 16 NBA tier package picks in that very same category. I'm going to lean toward the Baltimore Orioles plus 105 and the under 8.5. With that, guys, that's going to do it for me. Don't forget to check me out on Patreon. If you guys decide to get a package here today, just keep in mind, Patreon's going to bill you the day you sign up and then the first of every month following that. But most importantly, guys, got to thank you for joining me right here on YouTube. Really hope you enjoyed all this great free content, all this great free information. With that said, happy Tuesday to you. Best of luck to you. And I look forward to seeing you later on today on my website at patreon.com/BrockPage.